All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the War of YouTube Review. I'm joined by Josh.
Hello.
And I am joined by Xander.
And this little cute thing.
And that thing. So today we're going to go through the entire timeline of the War of YT series, which includes the final battle through the fight cuts to the end of it all.
It's not so bad.
We're not going to go in order of what videos were posted. We're going to do the actual timeline so you guys can actually understand. Let's first start with flashback. So this scene is where Cyber and Elle are created because Dylan and Lincoln are stupid and they create the clones, which creates the entire problem later on. And basically this leads to Cyber wanting to just destroy Dylan and Lincoln. This happens a long time before Final Battle because Cyber needs a lot of time to plan out how he's going to attack and how he's going to do this. And during this part, this is where Cyber creates all the clones and the box. So Cyber's just learning more about the gauntlet, learning more about the people he's taking down and all that. So this leads to the beginning of the final battle. So Cyber has been basically trying to get his hands to Dylan at this point. So he starts manipulating all of his friends into fighting each other, which leads to Josh and Brendan's battle, where Josh absolutely claps Brendan and sends him to the hospital for 10 years. News broke out, and then Xander and I fought because he supported Brendan because, oh, he's so strong, and you know. And I was like, no, Josh is literally defending himself. He broke into this house, dude. But Xander's like, no, dude. So anyway, Xander wins a fight between him and I, and basically he knows this is far from over. So he calls a big final battle. So this leads to Rowan backing up Lincoln because, again, Cyber met up with him. So Rowan and Dylan fight each other. They're trying to figure stuff out. Josh has disappeared. People are fighting each other. They just don't understand what's going on. Dylan kind of claps Rowan. All right, we get into the next segment, the final battle. All right, there's a lot to unpack here. So both sides meet up, epic fights, insane scenes, and then it finally gets down to Lincoln and Dylan after Rowan and Xander get clapped. So it gets down to Dylan and Lincoln, and at this point, they're both trying to kill each other. Dylan wins, obviously. I mean, if Lincoln won, if I won, I mean, it would have been right technically because Brendan started the whole thing, and Josh was in the right, self-defense. I would have been right, but Dylan comes to his senses and this is not right. We gotta just stop this. So they make peace, and Cyber's plan actually fails.
But I will like to mention something else that happened the same day of the final battle, but earlier. Josh was in an unknown place, which we still don't know, and brutally was defeated and murdered by Lord Cyber.
Yeah.
It's all good because there's plenty of other DED members that go out in history in a bad way, which we'll get that actually pretty soon.
Also, another thing at the final battle was actually a Rogue Raven clone named Evil Rowan, who was not supposed to be there, which is a later fight cut that we'll get to. So
now, technically that was me, but it's cool to put in.
Canon. All right, the log fight cuts, if you can read that. All right, so the first fight cut was Rowan coming over to Lincoln's house because, after the final battle, they all made peace. So he's coming over like an ordinary day. And he finds, presumably, Xander and Dylan playing basketball. It was not Xander and Dylan. These two were actually Jason and Rick. Basically, these guys are clones, and they were supposed to be looking out for anybody, but instead they did this. They start fighting Rowan, and Rowan kind of claps them. Nothing too big here, lore-wise. All right, next is the invitation for Shoulder Stoppers. He's been invited for a reunion party by Lincoln, Xander, and Rowan. So this was going to be like a DED news kind of thing. He got there, everything was great, and then the thought Lincoln, Rowan, and Xander were actually more clones. So they start beating him up. These clones were L, Sideswipe, and Evil Rowan, which we heard about earlier. So Shoulder Stopper, after a long punch fest, makes it out, and he doesn't know what's going on. He's still really confused.
Kind of just takes a break for a while.
He just kind of leaves. Like, next is Brock versus Log Flipper. Now, something I forgot to mention earlier. Ivy the dog was stolen at some point.
Another member or
of the
good guy captured.
Yeah. Reason we don't know. They also captured Baby Siren Head,
Which was
is
probably during the final battle also,
Yeah.
so you know.
So-
Pretty much everything happened at the final battle. The only thing you guys get to see though is the final battle itself, but there's at least three
Yeah.
different things going on.
There's a lot of stuff happening in the background. Log Flipper wanted the dog. It was pretty simple. Brock was there to protect the dog, apparently. We don't know why, but he was. And this is happening in the box, just to let you all know. Past two were in the actual real world. Basically, Brock and Log Flipper have differences about the dog. Brock kind of deceives Log Flipper, though, because he says that he is to return to the owners, and Brock is like the only one there at that point.
Yep.
And he basically gets Log Flipper to fight him, and he just dies.
I feel like when Brock meant owners, maybe like Lord Cyber, another clone.
Yeah, it could have been that.
There's so many different scenarios with that, at least.
Next, we are talking about the execution. So this is a weird one for a lot of people. It came at a really weird time, I'll be honest, but there's a lot of background stuff going on again. So basically, what the clones figured out was Baby Siren Head gave Siren Head the power of being this giant beast. And killing Baby Siren Head would make him less powerful. He's still like one of the most powerful. Like, if you put him on a power scale,
Probably
He's-
just under Lord Cyber.
he's
honestly.
just under Lord Cyber and Dylan. So the plan was they were going to kill Baby Siren Head, and Siren Head was going to come, he being all angry, and they were going to explain that Lincoln did it because they already knew that he had a rivalry. That would take Lincoln out of the equation so that Dylan wouldn't have as much help to fight the clones. So that was the original goal. It completely backfired. All right, next we have Unworthy. So this is where Evil Rowan was found going to the final battle, which was prohibited because if the clones were found there, it would have totally blown their cover and would not have been prepared for Dylan.
Pretty sure the next two fights are both in the real world.
Yeah.
And what they do to Evil Rowan in this next one is kind of stupid because this is where the clones, I like to think, really start to get weaker.
Yeah. So L and Evil Rowan start duking it out. At this point, L is weak. And he needs help, so he gets his buddy Sideswipe, which is his very close friend, which obviously will affect him later. And they do end up killing Evil Rowan. It does suck for them because he was part of their trio at the beginning. So it really was bad that they had to kill him. It didn't affect them as badly though because, you know, he was not following the rules and he broke it. So they were just doing what they were told. All right, so this is where Shoulder Stopper reemerges, but he actually gives the information because he's so smart to the sheriff, John Liplock. So he's sent in to investigate Lincoln's house. Shoulder Stopper has noticed people entering the building. He's seen, you know, objects around that have been moved. He's seen a hatchet even. So John goes in. He's not really expecting anything. But then he gets into the weight room and he sees Brock working out. Because the clones like to come here to work out. They like to train in the real world for some reason. So anyways, Brock and John meet up. And John is really confused because Brock's skill with swords and his new laser sword technology is just out of his league. John is really amazed. They fight. Despite Brock not putting up his best performance, he still comes out on top and he just
Kind of like Lord Cyber.
and then he takes him into the box, which is the first captured person other than the other two since then. And it's like, wow. So John learns of these clones, the Rogue Ravens. We finally get to hear their organization, and is just really scared for his life because he's just got a bunch of he's just tied up against the chair and he's just like, oh god, I'm dead. All right, so we now get into the he's coming. This is another weird one that probably confused the heck out of people, but this is the real world. This is Lincoln. Apparently he's really tired at mid-afternoon. for work? What is he working on right now?
Nothing but brain issues.
He went to sleep and then he starts hearing his own voice. Now, the reason Lincoln knows it was Siren Head is because of his past experiences with him. So Siren Head starts explaining, kind of like secretly, because, you know, he thinks Lincoln already knows. So anyways, he just thinks he's like lying and stuff. And so Siren Head shows what he did to Xander. And this absolutely terrified Lincoln.
Fun fact, literally a day after the Brock versus John Luke Black in the Real World Sideswipe was sent to get a pair of dumbbells for Rock's awesome workouts.
So, yeah. So that was Sideswipe actually dying to Siren Head, which this episode sets up for episode 1 of the War of YouTube. And the time frame of these fight cuts are very close to each other. This is all happening in a row. So all these weird events just start to erupt, which really confuses everybody.
I also like to mention, just before Evil Rowan went out, a day before, Siren Head took out Landon and Laura, and I'm pretty sure we know what that is. And those are our other DED members.
Alright, Shoulder Stopper is now fully involved. He heads over to the house.
So pissed at John being gone.
Because Lincoln actually calls him because he needs somebody to stay at the house because he's going to the police department to figure out what actually happened to Xander because he just doesn't really believe what he saw. So anyway, Shoulder Stopper's like, he's looking at, I forgot to mention this, but in the Brock and John fight, John took a picture of Brock. So Shoulder Stopper got his phone and he's looking at this picture. He's like, all right, something weird's gonna happen. And it does. Because L hits his balls. Fun fact, that was L. He hit his balls. What an idiot. Shoulder Stopper finds a portal in the basement. And apparently he doesn't know what a portal is. Anyways, he goes through it and he appears outside. So he's like, what the fuck? He's really confused. He thinks he's in the same place, but then it smells like cheese. Anyway, so while Shoulder Stopper was doing that, the clones, specifically L, was setting up this elaborate trap to lead him into the box, which worked. And then Jason reminds L of his past buddy. And this really gets L pissed off. And I think this fight really proves to Jason that L's not messing around anymore.
Nope.
Because L really leveled up at this point. He was much more even in this battle and honestly stronger, I'd say. In some parts anyways. And he does end up beating Shoulder Stopper thanks to his imposter type ability.
Yeah.
So Shoulder Stopper wakes up, he finds that John is in the basement as well. But this is the most insane fight cut because this is where Cyber is introduced. We don't get to see him, but we do hear him. And yeah, basically both of them crap their pants. Lincoln comes back into the real world much later, figures out that Shoulder Stopper is gone, and calls Dylan for help. Alright, so the list is a very short fight cut. I'm going to actually let Xander explain this.
Okay, so I'm going to kind of try to do this a little fast-paced just because I got to. So, Even Lincoln Log comes to the garage, basically. Throws out the dead head of baby Siren Head. Brock, another awesome workout. Probably one of his last, but, you know, awesome. They talk, and there's this list about their guys and the good guys. Basically, Lord Cyber's vision of the list isn't just to kind of show off on Dylan when he shows it to him. Lord Cyber has this thing where he just likes to be professional and keep it all down. And he's very good at hiding those things. Okay, so in this log fight cut, the original second in command, Pink Hood, even though he was not around like, you know, Lincoln Log, Lord Cyber were in the beginning, was just really good at being second command. And he has this thing where he just likes to say fool a lot because he's a fool. So basically, he kind of goes rogue because he's done with this. He's done being a soldier now and wants to be back in that second hierarchy. Does not work out for him. He is very good at, you know, long range for like the snipers example. But when it goes to close combat, he's got a few things like hitting Lincoln with the gun. But again, that was kind of more like a not fair kind of scenario attack, but you know, he's trying to make it out. So anyways, yeah, kind of in the end, he just gets murdered. Yeah.
We finally made it to the War of YT section, the final section of this.
With an extended log fight cut.
Yeah. All right, let's get straight into it. Episode 1, delivering a message. So there's a whole backstory to this. It's in the description of the first episode. Please check it out because we're trying to go quick here because this is already 30 minutes long.
Just like me.
But the really short version is Elle and Xander meet up. Elle basically threatens Xander that he'll kill him if he lets anybody knows. And he's still gonna kill him if he doesn't do what he's told from Cyber and him. And if he hurts anybody or disobeys, he will also die.
Yep.
So this really leads up to episode 1. So at this point, Dylan and Lincoln are still looking for Xander because he's missing still. Lincoln loses hope still. Dylan just really doesn't understand. Lincoln re-explains the dream and Dylan wants to...
Yeah.
Like he loses his brain again. Dylan basically has to fume out his anger and his confusion, so he starts lifting weights. Lincoln goes outside to get some fresh air, and Xander walks up to him. At the same time, Elle sneaks into the house and is right behind Dylan.
2v2.
Oh, that was a good scene, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lincoln is really relieved right now, and Xander is too. He smiles for a moment and then realizes, oh wait, I got a job to do. So he starts attacking Lincoln, and Lincoln's like, what the heck, man? He's like, sorry, I gotta do this or I'm gonna get clapped. My bad. I totally couldn't have told you to help me kill this guy or anything.
And yeah, basically, it's kind of close still, but again...
Yeah, the reason Lincoln got a lot of moves on Xander is because Xander mentally just doesn't want to hurt Lincoln. Same with Lincoln. Lincoln knows his punches aren't going to do a whole lot to Xander. But Xander knows a few hits and Lincoln's going to get seriously hurt. So he doesn't want to hurt Lincoln too bad. So, yeah, Xander kind of holds back.
Takes him out anyways and takes him away. Even Lincoln Long kind of meets him in the garage, is kind of how I see it. Just they kind of open the garage. And Dylan just, got out pretty much by the time the garage is closed and got in the portal. So that is kind of how that fast-paced thing went.
Yeah. With Elle and Dylan, so Elle is telling Dylan that this is your message. So they fight, and that's the message. That's a lot is heading his way.
Yeah.
So Dylan defeats Elle pretty easily despite his power level. And it's not because Elle is not strong. It's more so that Dylan
has
is
better
the
technique.
strongest.
Strongest plus technique. You saw the moves, so there's all that too.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much that one, right?
Well, once he defeats Elle, he's called by Cyber. And he basically gives this entire thing. He basically repeats everything.
I love the part where he says, he's out.
He's
just
out.
Awesome. Oh.
And yeah, so Dylan goes outside and Lincoln is gone already. So that is episode 1. Episode 2. So we already explained actually the whole cyber talk to Lincoln.
Basically, really all that's left is they find each other, then they fight, they win easily, and sadly they find out the truth about not only the final battle, but Josh. Oh, this is
episode 3. All right, so basically this is the reflection that the DD squad gets when they learn about Josh and stuff. Lincoln's really taking a toll at this point. So is Dylan. Dylan's probably worse than Lincoln.
Basically, other than just showing all the characters, Lord Cyber kind of does all that talking stuff, and then they kind of just plan out how to do this. They call each other, and then they're going to meet each other. Now, I do want to let you know that this episode 3 and the log fight caught are both together the same day. Lord Cyber and 2 other clones kind of go their ways, and then Rick is told to not be near Jason because Lord Cyber can't take that anymore. So he meets down with those 2 and brutally gets taken out by Siren Head later on. Brock takes Siren Head out just because Siren Head's really getting weak and Brock kind of trained a little bit. And that's basically episode 3 and log fight cut together. And that's the gist of it. That's literally it.
Episode 4 is playing the game. So they meet up. Cyber's just kind of trash talking at this point. He's fed up.
Tired of it.
Dylan's like, yeah, this has got to stop. So anyways, this is a big battle episode. There's not really a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, there's really just fighting and changing Xander to the
But
side.
the big thing is you can obviously see how Cyber is destroying Dylan, not just physically, but mentally. So Dylan figures out that Cyber, of course, is himself. Yep. Because who else would be as strong to actually do that? So yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know. The clones go into the portal, but Lincoln at the end says this is not going to end this way and
Nope.
goes through the portal. Episode 5. So Dylan is interrogated by Cyber. Cyber explained that Dylan is the cause of all of this because Dylan was saying like, oh, I never started this. I never wanted this to happen. And Cyber just absolutely destroys his claim. And this all leads back to the flashback, which is really cool, I think, when you look at it that way, because it leads all the way back to the beginning of this video, which is really cool. Now, if you're wondering why Dylan and Lincoln forgot about the gauntlet, it's really just because of the amount of time and because nothing strange happened for a while after that, so it completely went away. Jason is going to be hero. He had a talk with Elle about his buddy Rick. Elle, was like, you gotta listen to Cyber. It's what we're made to do. Jason doesn't want that anymore. He kind of makes that conflicting thing. You know what's going to happen. They're going to fight each other. So Carter gets the gauntlet. Lincoln and Xander break out Dylan, Showstopper, and John. John gets his gun. He kills Dr. S and then escapes Brock's clutches. And
But Brock actually blocked the bullet with his sword again, which was so awesome.
Brock has just got the insane reflexes. Like, this is where Jason makes his sacrifice. He dies.
First clone ever to actually
but not
go with it.
as a cost, because this helped the DD squad escape. And Dylan destroys the gauntlet, which destroys the box, which you might think destroys the clones.
No, because they're living matter. That's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
Just how we do it,
The grand finale. So basically, same area as final battle. Honestly, again, a lot of fighting. Xander kills Elle. Lincoln gets destroyed kind of in this fight, but he does kill Brock. I want to talk about the meanings of the death scenes of what they said.
I'll do one of them. That was the
So I'll start with Elle. Elle said, "I'll see a side flip," which is obviously a direct callback to his buddy being taken out.
Just like Jason.
So they're gonna see each other. And
Brock's, basically, Brock has never really ever been fully trying, ever. He's kind of like an anti-hero, but just likes to take the punishment and never really likes to try. But he is definitely the second strongest clone. He would still lose Lord Cyber, but he still never fully tries, is what I want to say. But he really didn't want to try near the end of this battle, as you see. He gave up hitting. He wanted to just throw him around. And Brock's head, he was either thinking, run out of here and make my own way of living, or just taking my life, basically. So basically, he was so done with it and knew we were losing that even Lord Cyber was going to get taken out. So he decided to give up and let Lincoln win, because he kind of actually helped the DED team win against Lord Cyber, because he could have really went powerful mode and stopped Lincoln. He really could have.
Yeah. He could have easily done that.
Not kidding. But he decided, all because he knew this was just done. Just before he really does die, he mentions that this is true victory. And what I want to give that meaning for is because he is not admitting that they're really going to lose now. He is admitting that just being taken out by these guys, because he feels their pain deep down, that this is victory for himself at least. Because, Lord Cyber really does not want to do,
Yeah.
So that is the big logical thing behind Brock's last words.
So Dylan and Cyber meet up at the final battle circle. They actually go on the bridge. So Cyber's talking about the meaning of his entire plan and stuff and all that. Dylan is like, this is enough. This is the end of the game. And obviously says, no more games. They fight. It's a long and awesome fight. It was really back and forth. But Cyber still, again, edges Dylan. Again.
With every move.
And Dylan would have died if it wasn't for Lincoln. And Lincoln actually starts doing a lot of damage to Cyber. He's stabbing. He was electrocuting him. He takes his mask off. He is punching him to death. And then Cyber kind of turns
really
the table.
did help.
Cyber turns the table. He starts beating up Lincoln. And Lincoln is about to die now.
Yeah, 2v1, man. Not good.
And before he is, Dylan saves the day. And then they get into a long punching thing. And this during the scene, there's flashbacks of obviously the final battle and all that. Because, this is like a true, just really tense moment. And finally, it gets to the really epic climax of this. Dylan passes the sword to Lincoln. Lincoln absolutely stabs Cyber. Oh my god, his stomach, man, it's gotta be pouring out of blood. Oh wait, we don't have that special effect.
Well, we'll just pretend, you know.
Anyways, so Lincoln passes back the sword, and Dylan does the insane 3-hit combo to kill Cyber. But before Cyber dies, he gives his whole speech. Basically, the meaning is basically that just because he's not living doesn't mean he won't live on. Which basically is Cyber saying that he will forever be in Dylan and Lincoln's and everybody's brain that this actually happened. It's a living nightmare that the D&D squad will have to live. Cyber dies, it's the end of the game. I hope you enjoyed the review. You probably still have questions, but that's honestly because we made this plot really bad. But anyways, see you guys in the next video.